Okay, zoning board, we are live, we are recording, and phone lines will remain off. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt. That was almost 40 seconds.
Darn.
Welcome, everybody, to the work session of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for April 11, 2023. We have post-hearing decisions this evening, 5 of them, and I'll read the first one into the record. First one is Michael Mara at 569 Fireplace Road in Spring, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-95-5-39.2. The size and location is 22,368 square feet at 569 Springs Fireplace Road, Montauk View, lots 1 through 10, including lot 12, part of lot 12, block 45, map number 16 in Springs. The description is to allow a lot with less than 30,000 square feet of total lot area to allow an affordable accessory apartment within a detached structure. The relief sought is one variance of 7,632 square feet from 25511 63B2 of the town code is required to allow an affordable accessory apartment within a detached structure on a parcel of land with a lot area of 22,368 square feet, where 30,000 square feet is the minimum required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B, resident zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. This is in member Savarise's territory, so she's joining us via Zoom. So Denise, you want to chime in?
Don't see her now.
Thank you. Yes, this public hearing was held February 28th. The survey I am referring to, if I'm wrong, please correct me, is prepared by Gary Benz, last revised April 1st, 2020, dated received August 24th, 2022. This parcel is located in the southwest corner of Harbor Boulevard and Springs Fireplace Road in Springs. It's improved with a single-family residence and a detached garage. The application before the board is to allow an affordable accessory apartment on a parcel of land that is less than the required minimum. The property is 22,368 square feet in a lot area where 30,000 square feet is the minimum requirement. Of course, the applicant is seeking to convert the existing garage into an affordable accessory apartment. Excuse me 1 second. During the public hearing, it was represented by Thomas Crouch, who was actually filling in for Andrew Strong. He made the point that he actually thinks the applicant has the right to an affordable house, affordable apartment, and a detached structure is the only reason that he's before the board. There were letters entered into the record. One was from David Buddha. And I actually reviewed the determinations that Tyler gave us, and also Mr. Buddha attached with his documentation. And my determination is that the two decisions that Mr. Crouch referred to during his decision, during his testimony, are not justifiable comparisons, because in the case of Anita Baskind, it was a very limited, it was 372 square feet within the confines of a primary residential structure. And it was proposed on a lot across the street from a large reserve area and adjacent to a large parcel, which kind of mitigated the impact of additional density. In the Cynthia Darrell determination, the matter involved a much smaller variance, like 1.7%. The lot size was actually 29,476 square feet versus 30,000. So in my view, I don't think those are comparable or justifiable in terms of approving the application. Tyler Borsak spoke on behalf of the application. He also discussed that it is before the town board. There is discussion about lowering from 30,000 square feet to 20, but we can't really rule on that something might or might not happen. So I kind of, in my own mind, was able to rule that out. Michael Mara spoke at the public hearing. He does not reside at the residence full-time. They are currently before Justice Court because they were using this structure before us tonight as a bread and breakfast. They're no longer doing that. I don't really know if that situation has been resolved. Also, the public hearing was, the record and the public hearing were closed. I think for me, the code speaks for itself. No affordable accessory apartment within a detached structure shall be constructed on a lot with a total lot area less than 30,000 square feet. And the applicant is requesting a variance from that provision. And I don't think, as I have stated about the previous determinations that have been rendered, I don't think this is in keeping with the variance standards. And in light of that, I'm denying this application.
Thank you, Denise. You want to go?
Sure. Okay, I agree with my fellow board member. I too reviewed the previous determinations and found those not to be a valid comparison to the Mara application. For the reasons Denise already stated, I know just a little bit more on the Darrell one. It was a few hundred feet, the variance requests, and also that was a situation where their lot size had gotten to be 29,000 feet plus a little due to a UR map road abandonment and modification of the property size. So their property size increased to the 29,000 and change. And they also had an apartment within the residence, the principal residence there, that was being used, and they stopped using that, and so they applied for the variance for the garage with that apartment. That one was a detached garage, so that was closer in description, in my view, of the current situation for Mara. But Baskin, yeah, I found even less applicable to this case. I too think the variance is very substantial, and actually, we had the two public people. David Buda spoke against it. David Bustamante wrote a letter in favor of it, and I think as Member Savary stated, if you look at the code for 255-1163, there are a number of things that are not applicable for the Mara application, including that the principal owner does not live at the house, and the variance is quite substantial. I too am looking to deny this application.
Thank you. Ed?
I'm largely in agreement, excuse me, with my fellow board members. I, like Member Savarese, I came back to the standard here. We have to have, when we're required to have 30,000 square feet and you're 22,000, it's a 7,000 plus difference, 7,632 in square foot difference. That's significant. And in the end, that's a very important part of what we're charged to look at here. There were some other questions that were raised during the inquiry. One of them was during the hearing. One of them was that this apartment has already been used and has been being used, and that's led to, it was mentioned already, some action that they are in court now trying to get that resolved, that they had been using it illegally, and that if you are going to get granted use of a separate spot, a separate rental on your property, you must be, the resident must be, the residence must be totally legal and it could stand any inspection. And at this point, it would be hard to approve something when they're in court fighting over it. Also, you must be a resident in a primary resident in the property, and the Maras do not live on the property. So all of that lent itself against it. I think that we had some discussions, it's been mentioned already by the other two board members, but in the end, I went with the same logic that was used by Member Savarese, and that is, it was just too large an ask to go to give up over 7,000 feet variance on this. And there was aspects of it we didn't like. There was some things that were going on there, because it had been being used that may or may not have factored into it. In the end, I think there was enough for me just to say that needing 30,000 feet and having 22, it meant it a no-go. So I'm going to deny this one.
Thank you. Joe?
I'm not going to repeat what everyone said, but to agree, it's a substantial variance. It's not a primary residence, and the two cases they cited are distinguishable. And until the town changes the code, I know the town is trying to foster affordable housing through encouraging affordable apartments and so forth. But when you have someone on the record admit that they're not the primary residence, and it's not in the town code, or I should say it's required in the town code that they be a primary resident, I think that's a problem. It's a shame because they had offered to put in a new IAA system, which I think would have been helpful, but I'm going to deny the application.
Thank you. I think the IA system would have been required.
Yeah.
Because in effect, there was a finishing of an accessory building that without the benefit of a building permit. So if they were to come to the town with a building permit to legalize it, then that would require an IA system based on the new code. There you go. I agree with all my board members. Well said on everything. Go ahead.
I just want to be clear, my decision was based on what was posed to us as comparables, which I found not to be comparable, and on the large variance size itself.
I think
more
it's
so
a
than anything else
substantial,
that was
substantial
going on.
variance.
Yeah.
Council, are we good?
Yep.
Thank you. Next, we have 57 Hampton Lane LLC at 57 Hampton Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-174-7-19. The size and location is 8,000 square feet at 57 Hampton Lane, Beach Hampton, Section 1, Block 2, Lot 7273, map number 1203 in Amagansett. The description is to remove existing walkways and decking and replace with new decking, walkways, and stairs, to remove an approximately 145 square feet of portion of the residence and replace it with decking, to construct an approximately 165 square feet addition, raise the residence to meet FEMA first floor elevations, reconstruct an existing outdoor shower, relocate the existing driveway, and construct an upgraded sanitary system on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 4 variances are required for this application. Variance of 96 feet, 94 feet, 93 feet, and 83 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct decking 4 feet, outdoor shower 6 feet, walkways 7 feet, and additions to the residence 17 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 50 feet from 255-430 of the Town Code is required to allow clearing 0 feet from the edge of wetlands where a 50-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, 8E flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Joe?
This property had its hearing held on February 28th. The hearing and the record were closed then. John Tarbett presented for the applicant. The survey they relied on was from Gary Benz, dated last revised 8/20/21. Just a couple notes to remind people what this one was about. The owner lives next door, and he bought this old Schaefer, it's an old Schaefer house. It was like a fishing house in the dunes that he'd like to restore. I think the design was thoughtful. It stays within the footprint of the prior house. So in a sense, it's replacing in kind what's there. Although the variances in some cases seem substantial. It will improve things because there'll be a new IAS system, and they're going to raise it for FEMA purposes. I think so I'm inclined to approve the house. I struggled a little bit with the walkways and the driveway. I had an issue with the driveway because I think it's a poor precedent to have it go up to the edge of the wetlands. It's just too close. The TAM elaborated on that somewhat. It's a very tight envelope for construction, but they seemed amenable to respecting the wetlands in that regard and keeping a tight clearing envelope. We're going to revegetate the northeast corner. So under 255-551, preserving natural resources, I'm inclined to deny the driveway. I'd like to hear what others have to say about the walkways. With respect to 255-5-40, compatibility and environmental protection, I mean, the house is the old-fashioned house that used to be in the dunes, and I think it's compatible with the old-fashioned houses that are still extant there, and it could be more environmentally protective, but it's a very small lot, and they're basically, like I said before, replacing what's there, the footprint of what's there. So I'm inclined to approve that.
Thank you. Ed?
Thank you. Yeah, the thing everybody who visited the site and when it was presented here, it's pretty obvious. This is one of the most constrained sites that's come in front of the board while I've been on the board. It certainly is one that's hard to imagine just how you can complete this project without doing some sort of collateral damage. That was brought up at the hearing by both the chair and myself. Was a concern over the wetlands coming within 7 feet in one corner of the property, and I guess the southeast corner, and the wetlands being very close in other directions here. There's those two pocket wetlands that we talked about that were, one is up front to the north and one slightly to the south, mid-range on the property. These are areas that are going to be hard not to do some sort of damage to during construction. That makes this a very, very sensitive one, and one takes careful consideration on our part. I agree with Member McGovern that parking is a problem here. They have that one parking spot drawn in on the survey, which I would not be in favor of approving, because I think we're asking for it to do. We're going to be doing potential damage to a very sensitive dune scape here. The construction, as I said, would be difficult. And one other aspect of it is this house is going to be raised. They'll come in from the road, they will excavate, they will pour a foundation, and will lower the house. The raising of the house requires other work to be done. Steel is to be set on cribs. Those cribs can't be right close to the excavation. So even if they had absolutely no desire to get 5 feet beyond what the footprint of the house is, they have no choice. So there's the potential here to do a fair amount of damage if we're not very careful about strictly following the construction protocols. I think we have to make sure that when we make these rulings here, what are we asking people to do with large equipment during heavy construction and all of that? Also, the walkways were a problem because it does represent the additional hardening of a surface area. And this is such a sensitive site. If this was to move forward, you'd want to think that the house looked like it was dropped from a helicopter and we did no other damage around the exterior of it. And hopefully the word we talked about at the hearing, how the wetlands are not in great shape. They're not in great shape because they've not been particularly well respected. So there was a combination of trash and blowdown and things like that that hopefully wouldn't happen with this new thing. On the other hand, the IA system, even though it can't be offered up strictly as mitigation, is a plus in that area to have an IA system come in there. I also found an effective argument on behalf of John Tarbett that we spent a lot of time here and the board hoping to find ways for compatibility with architecture, compatibility with the size on property. What are we allowing? What are we doing? Every time we allow for an addition, we change the footprint significantly. Here, we're not changing the footprint significantly on what they proposed. And it is the Sheffer house that goes back and it has some historic significance. It's not a historic home, but nonetheless, it does represent something that has to do with a rich tradition in East Hampton. And we struggle here with how can we respect the rights of the landowner and still see that new work can go on without doing damage that we'd rather not see or without creating a structure we'd rather not have on that spot. I think that the idea that this cottage is going to be raised, and so that's a plus as well because we'll get it to FEMA compliance. But they had a previous approval to go with a second floor. I think that this house comes in front of us with a complete redevelopment with a second floor, sitting up at FEMA compliance height. We start to talk about this monster sitting along this very quiet, very pretty little side street. All of those things led me to think that this was moving in the direction that I thought this is was a positive approach on their part. In balance, I think the effort on their part to work with stay with the smaller existing structure and not to look to do much in terms of a large addition on this. It's going to stay a small house. They are asking for a deck in place of where they're moving one part of the house back to an addition that's going to sit what is basically a U at the back of the house. I thought that not changing the footprint there did not bother me particularly. And I would caution that whenever we do these things, we have to be careful that the construction protocols are adhered to. This is an almost impossible site to work on without some collateral damage happening. And in order for us to get it to the NRSP standards, we have to know that they understand exactly what we're looking for. And I want to make that point before we go on with it, because that's important to us anytime we're looking at these very, very sensitive sites. So anyway, after considering all that, I'm going to line up exactly where Member McGivern was, and that is that I don't plan on approving the walkway or the parking, but I will approve the rest of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Then we'll go to Denise. We didn't forget about you, Denise.
Well, okay. I too agree with some of what my fellow board members said. However, well, let me say what I will approve. Basically, the 83-foot variance for the additions to the residence. I personally was not familiar with Sheffer housing at the time of the hearing. I did read a lot about it afterwards. And I agree that it seems that that's the way to go in this particular case on this constrained property as far as the additions. I do not like the driveway configuration or the proposed walkways. And I think they don't meet the NRSP standards for preservation of the natural resources. I am going to deny those. Also, the proposed deck that they want to put in the place where the existing house portion is going to be removed, I feel that is not. That I'm not going to approve that either. I think the variances are great there, 96 feet. And I hate to see the addition is going to free up that space and actually have a greater setback from the wetlands, but this new deck and stairs that go there will be right back into this very extremely high variance that's necessary for it. So I'm going to deny that. And I'm also denying the shower, the outdoor shower, which is also almost in the wetlands. It was, the discussion, the thing about the approval from, I forget the year now, for the two-story addition. I would assume, I don't want to assume, I would think that
It was
that is
2011.
2011, that when this project goes in, that would become invalid and removed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, I think it does not meet the natural resources special standards for the driveway, the walkways, the deck replacing on the southeast side, and the shower. And the pluses are, as my fellow board members have said, aside from the addition and keeping the style of the Sheffer house intact, are the IA system and the FEMA raising. So,
Thank you. Denise?
Okay, I appreciate all of the comments made by the board members. The way I first started to look at this application is obviously, if we had a vacant lot, none of this would get approved. But everything is there. And I think it's the intent of the applicant he has a good intent to, as best he can, bring the project up to code as much as necessary. I know during the public hearing, there was a lot of discussion about the disruption of the septic system and the variance for the septic. But I think that Mr. Tarbit's testimony about long-term effect, versus the short-term effect was very telling for me. I mean, I know there'll be a lot of disruption, but at the end of the day, with a new septic system in the long run, will definitely, it'll be better for the site, the wetlands, everything. The house obviously has to meet FEMA. I have, obviously the septic system I'm fine with. The problematic areas for me are the walkway, driveway, and outside shower. The new decking, I'm a little bit, I don't know. I can live with it if they have it, because again, it's in place in kind and they're not increasing the footprint. But part of me wants to see more revegetation and not, want revegetation versus more walkways or decking. But I think I'll go on record. I do think it's in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. They're not expanding the footprint. I think one of the best recommendations I heard during the hearing was from Chairman Deline, because we really don't have a construction protocol, but he made the distinction of having a project limiting fence with a clearing line, where the clearing line is, and maintaining existing grades. I think for me, that was kind of part of why I am agreeing to approve this, other than the walkways, driveway, and again, I have a problem with the outdoor shower as well.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a partial. I agree with the approval of the expansion of the house over the existing deck. I will. And I don't have a problem with the outdoor shower. To me, it comes down to, if we're going to deny the driveway and the walkway, then we have an expansion of an existing deck, of a new deck. And so to me, I would look at it as raising this FEMA and a new IA system. Does that offset that additional deck? That's to me the way I look at it. Is it
Right?
We're denying the walkway and the driveway. I agree with that. So basically it comes down to, so I'm with the denial and of the driveway and the walkway, I do think that the resiliency of the project does offset what they're proposing otherwise.
You know what my issue with allowing the deck was? If you don't give them the deck, they're just going to trample that area anyway.
Correct.
And
That's
they're
right.
going to put a barbecue there and they're going to put chairs and tables there.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and to me, the outdoor shower it's going to have a dry well and
Oh,
you can
I didn't
shower
see
in
that
the
on-
house.
Well, we
Or
would
you
have to
can shower
require it. We always-
outside.
yeah,
no,
it-
I think, I don't know. See, that was one of the reasons, I couldn't find that on the survey. That was one of the reasons, although we
should-
could have it as a
we
condition of
should
approval.
We can condition it on that.
All right, if we condition it on that, then of a dry well, because it is there, then I would just go on record as denying the driveway and the walkways.
Okay.
And approving the outdoor shower.
Okay. We good on that? Counselor, we good?
You're
Oh.
muted.
So,
Sorry. Overall, the majority of the board approved the application, but the entire board denied the driveway and the walkways, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All right, we're good.
Thank you.
You represented correctly?
I don't know.
And Terry?
Yeah, I mean, you have,
She
the only
denies the
thing
deck
that you
and the shower.
approved, Teresa, was the addition and the FEMA, and everything else essentially you denied, the deck, the outdoor shower, the
Yeah.
driveway, and the walkway.
The outdoor shower, the driveway, the walkways, and the proposed new deck with the
Yep,
stairs.
got it. Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next, we have 7 Beach Plum LLC at 7 Beach Plum Court in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-110-2-19.4. The size and location is 40,090 square feet. It's 7 Beach Plum Court, Beach Plum Park, number 8834 in Amagansett. The description is to allow ground level decking, second-story decking, a walkway and outdoor shower with slate wall to remain within minimum dune crest setbacks on a parcel containing beach vegetation located within the town's jurisdiction of barrier primary dunes. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and 2 variances are required. Variances from 255-440 coastal setbacks of 13.6 feet and 10.8 feet are required to allow the existing walkway to remain 86.4 feet and existing decking to remain 89.2 feet at its closest from the dune crest, where 100-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is A3 residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Joan, this was you.
Okay, 7 Beach Plum is the house that the gates were locked, so I had to trespass and begin my career as a trespasser. The hearing was held on February 28th and closed that evening. Chris Abbott presented for the applicant. The survey was by Wallbridge, last revised March 24th, 2022. I'll just start by summarizing. I'm fine with the second-story decking. The outdoor shower, the way it's constructed, it's embedded into a slate wall that surrounds the pool. So I think it'd be more disruptive to rip it out. So I'm inclined to approve that. The walkway was one of those, I can't remember the term, a roll-up walkway, which was fine. I'm not fine with the ground level decking. I think it's expanding the envelope of the house seaward sets a bad precedent. what else do you want to know?
The outdoor shower?
The outdoor shower was embedded in, if you visited the property, and I don't know how well I showed it on the picture, but it's embedded into the wall, the slate wall that surrounds the pool. It's not, it didn't bother me. The one thing I was confused about was the fence. The TAM refers to a fence located within the southern scenic easement on the property, and that the fence appeared to be functioning as a pool fence, so on and so forth. But the applicant represented that the fence was on the 2009 CO, so I wasn't sure about that. I don't know, Hope, do you need background on how it's part of the Beach Plum Park and it's in a coastal barrier resource area? And
No, I can definitely get that from the TAM. I just need to know, other than, so your main reason for denying it sounds like the only thing you're denying is the ground level decking, and that is because it expands, right?
It's a seaward expansion that sets a bad precedent, particularly in this sensitive area. And I deny it under 255-5-51D, preservation of natural resources.
Perfect.
Who wants to go next?
Ed, you want to go?
Sure. There's another one. We don't have to repeat everything that was just said, but I think that I'm going to agree largely again with Member McGivern. I think that the roll-up walkway is in the spirit of, even though it's an extension beyond, the roll-up walkway was a design that was used extensively by the other houses in the area that was meant to get them down to one central walkway, so the number of cuts over to the ocean were minimal. And that seems to have been part of that, well, that seems to have been, it was part of the long-term planning that went on here. This subdivision took a lot of work on the part of planners in the late 80s when it was first approved. There was a lot of discussion about what could and couldn't happen. A good portion of it, the way they laid out the lots, of course, the oceanfront was attractive to people, but a lot of the subdivision was set aside with very strict rulings here that took a long time to work out on such a sensitive area. That factors into my mind on what we should be ruling on here. About the shower, though, the shower is beyond the 100-foot setback, and it's on an elevated ledge that sits adjacent to the hot tub, and it does not sit out on its own. I didn't think there was much complaint from the planners about it. It is something we had to look at. I'll agree with Member McGivern that it is not something that looks as if I would, I'm not bothered by it. Let's put it at that. The second floor decking, there's some question about that, about its origin and how long it may or may not have been there. But again, it was incorporated in a way in the actual architecture of the house that was not particularly offensive to either the planners or to myself when I visited. The fence is one that maybe will become the hardest thing for us to have to deal with here, is that that comment that it was part of the 2009 C of O certainly would justify its existence, but the fact that it is not, that it's running out through the easement, I would love to see it removed as part of condition about having this approval move forward, because I think that we just don't want, we didn't want to see that. How it got allowed, we don't know, but either way, it's out there and it should come back, and it should come back to a spot that gets it clear of the easement closer to the house. It doesn't have to be that far away. And lastly, that first floor level deck, as was mentioned by Member McGivern, it's a movement towards the ocean, and it's just it's not something that we can take casually. It's not a great structure. It's not very large. All that's well and good. The fact is that it is a movement towards the ocean on a piece of property in a subdivision that has had very strict adherence to rules by other people there. There was some question about variances being granted in other locations. I didn't bother to take that into serious consideration here. Each house is its own. In this case here, we have a house that does have some second floor decking. We have a elevated area where there's a hot tub to socialize. It's not an enormous house, so it's not surrounded with, it's surrounded in very sensitive areas, both to the north and the south. So from my way of looking at this, I'm willing to approve what was there with the two exemptions, and that is I would not approve the first floor level deck, and I would like to see the fence move back and out of the easement.
Thank you. Denise?
I really agree with everything that's been said. I have no problem with the outdoor shower. And the reason is because it is within the original building envelope. The grade walkways are there to minimize dune crossings, pedestrian access to the ocean, so they do have a purpose. I had no objection to the extension of the walkway. They're benign and non-permanent rollout structures, and they can be lifted up. The second story decking, it's a minor structure. It looks like there was a change in the deck, but it appears to be very minimal, so I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with the first story deck, obviously for the same reasons already stated. It's built seaward of the pool. It's a problematic structure. And if it did come before us for approval, it would have required a dune crest variance and an NRSP, and I'm doubtful that we would have approved it. It does set a precedent. Member McGivern is absolutely correct. And I think removing it will not be disruptive. That was one of the things I thought about with denying it is, will we disrupt, everything, taking it out? But it's a short-term disturbance again. And I think that the area should be revegetated with beach grass. I too agree that the fencing, I wasn't sure if we had jurisdiction over this, but it is in, I think it was in the 2005 CO, and it appears though, during the hearing, it was admitted that it was an oversight, I believe, by the building department. It was just an accident. So I think as a condition of approval, I think it should be removed from the scenic easement and relocated. Other than that, the only thing I really am denying is the first story deck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I generally agree with my fellow board members. We iterate the whole thing. The one thing about the wood walkway that is in place, did they state at the hearing that it was a roll-up? That portion
Yes.
they added in? Okay. This has to be stipulated that
It remains a walkway.
as long as
Yeah,
it's
that should be
a
conditioned.
roll-up walkway.
should be-
And that's above the walkway that had been previously
100%
approved.
should be
Yeah,
conditioned
okay.
only.
And the shower, same thing, it's an NRSP, but it, as Member McGivern stated, it's enclosed, doesn't seem to be able to do any other environmental harm on the property. And the first floor decking, also the variance, I will also deny that. The variance is 89.2. The decking to remain, 10.8 feet from the dune crest. So that is a huge variance, and it was put in without NRSP or permit. And I will deny that also. And then as far as the fencing, it does need to be moved out of the scenic easement. With that. So that covers it.
Thank you. I'm 100% agreement with my board members too. And I just want to underscore the 1989 subdivision process that underwent, that happened in this property, and the sensitivity, the environmental sensitivity of it, and expanding it outside the thing is would set an extremely bad precedent for underscoring. So I too would agree with my board members in denying that lower deck.
Were you clear on the two conditions that the walkway, all of the walkway remain as a roll-up walkway?
Or minimum footpath or walkway,
Yeah. And
not to exceed.
the other condition was moving the pool fence out of the
That's
scenic
correct.
easement.
Mhm.
Got it.
Good?
Excuse me 1 second, zoning board. Denise,
Yes.
do me a quick favor. Whatever
Sure.
your camera, can you just tilt that down a smidge? Your camera, your device, whatever. Ah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you. Continue, please.
Now you can see my head.
More, yes.
It's a good thing she understood what a smidge was. She didn't have to Google it. All right. Our next decision is Anthony Melillo at 31 Gilbert's Path in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-151-3-22. Size and location is 29,523 square feet at 31 Gilbert's Path. Map of Seaview in Amagansett, lot number 10, map number 4987 in Amagansett. The description is to allow the in-place like-kind replacement of an existing screen wall to remain as a reconstructed privacy wall, allow an existing knee wall to remain, and to replace a portion of the existing driveway with wood walkway on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 2 variances are required for this application. Variances of approximately 72 feet and 83 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to allow the existing wood walkway to remain approximately 28 feet and the wall to remain to 17 feet from freshwater wetlands, where a 100-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B Residence 8E flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2.
This hearing was held on March 7th and closed that evening. The survey we're referring to is I never say this name right, Baralinsky. Last revised January 28th, 2022. And the certificate of occupancy is dated February 10th, 21. I guess I want to say that on the whole, they appear to be good shepherds of the property. They put in a new IAS system without doing anything that was required. When you approach the house, they've already abandoned large portions of what was the existing driveway. And the wood walkway, although it does require a variance, there's the property is a long and thin rectangle, and there's no way to get into the house from the driveway, which they've now moved back, unless you walk on something. So they could walk on fragile land, or they could walk on a wood walkway, which it's not big blocks of wood, it's sort of permeable around it. So I'm inclined to approve that. The reconstructed privacy wall is in kind in place. I don't have a problem with. And the existing knee wall, I don't have a problem with. And I think that by removing parts of the driveway, they've reduced their overall clearance, which is a positive. So I guess I'm inclined to approve the entire application.
Thank you. Ed?
I'm going to agree again with Member McGivern on this. I thought the retreat of the driveway was a factor. The walkway, as you could see when we had the photos from that night of the hearing, you could see how it accessed the house and how kind of important it was. The replacement in kind of the 2 walls that were mentioned here, including the knee wall, the slate wall, were all done. I think in good spirit and good keeping. I think referring to them as good stewards of the property is accurate from what you can see from the way in which they've handled their time there. That whole walkway, which was something we discussed, I just think that it is semi-permeable, and I think that the idea that we were giving up some driveway and that we were going to get less clearance as a net result. And along the way, as part of the other work that they had done some improvements under a building permit, went through with all of that correctly through the inspection process, added the IA system. I thought this was a good candidate for approval, and I'm willing to approve it at this time.
Thank you. Terry?
I agree with my fellow board members. Overall, the putting in the wood walkway replaced the portion of the driveway, as was already stated. That is an improvement right there. The applicant also did on their own, did revegetation on the property, and they reduced the clearing that had been approved from 4,673 feet down to 3,600 square feet. That was also a plus, and also in keeping with the natural resources standards. It's an improvement to the environment. And the knee wall, I'm also approving that. Lighthouse Land Planning, Joel Halsey did write in his presentation that it was the knee wall. There had been a fixed planter approved it within that area, and the knee wall went in that spot. The planter did not. And then in his presentation, how there was some construction that was shoddy, the type of wood that was used deteriorated very quickly and had to be replaced. So it had to be replaced, and then they made the privacy wall. But I think all of that, when you look at the photos that Member McGivern showed, doesn't look like there's any impact on anyone else in the area, in the neighborhood. And I think it meets the standards for the variance also. It's a large variance, however, there were no alternatives available, and it does not impact the character of the neighborhood at all.
Thank you.
I'm looking to approve the whole project.
Thank you, Terry. Denise?
I agree with my fellow board members. I think the changes that have occurred in this application are very minor. The existing walkway is simply to allow access to the driveway, the privacy wall in place in kind replacement. The knee wall, as Member Berger just noted, was not part of the approved plans, but a fixed planter on A200 of the plans was approved. I looked at that, and it is within the area of what was approved. It is impressive that they have reduced the clearing by 1,073 square feet and reduced the coverage by 500. So I think the applicant has done a good job at meeting the standards for an NRSP and a variance. And I approve this application.
Thank you. I agree with my board members. I have nothing else to add. Council, you good?
Okay.
Next, we have Paul Engelmayer and Emily Mandelstam at 23 Harbor Hill Lane in Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-83-6-13. The size and location is 65,394 square feet at 23 Harbor Hill Lane, Ships Close, Barnes Landing, Section 6, map number 4418 in Springs. A description is to construct a 337 square foot screen porch and a 122 square foot slate patio within 100 foot of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and two variances are required for this application. Variances of 41.6 feet and 61.3 feet are required from 255-430 of the town code to construct a slate patio 58.4 feet and a screen porch 38.7 feet from wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A2 residence zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And Denise, you want to go at it?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Deline. This hearing was held on March 7th, 2023. Submitted into the record was via a June 8th, 2022 letter to the board. We received a revised survey prepared by Foxland Surveying, last revised May 19th, 2022, dated received June 8th, 2022. And the building plans are, if I'm wrong with any of this, please correct me. Were prepared by Zwerko, Ortman, and Hugo. They're dated March 14th, 2022, dated received March 17th, 2022. Rick Whalen appeared on behalf of the application. This property is located on the west side of Harbor Hill in the Barnes Hole section of Springs. The family has owned this house since 1969. The ZBA granted approval in November of 2009 for the construction of a one-story addition, detached garage, and some other improvements. A scenic easement was required over the wetlands, along with a declaration of covenants and restrictions. There was a revegetation plan that was noted during the public hearing prepared by Marshall Petzel, dated revised March 6, 2009, referenced in the decision to revegetate areas of clearing within the scenic easement. I kind of looked for it, couldn't able to find it. Maybe someone else was able to track it, but I couldn't. 2009 survey and current survey clearing boundaries appear to be the same, but the applicants have no recollection of whether that revegetation was actually done, but they're willing to do it now. The screen porch, it's to extend a deck will be screened in over what is already there, and the outdoor grill would go onto a slate patio that is proposed north of the screened-in porch, and it does maintain the 5-foot separation to the septic system. The patio now, as I read, needs a 34.5-foot wetland variance. They've received DEC approval. Those records are contained in the file. And the reason for the screened-in porch, and I'm familiar with this area, is the clients are really not able to sit outside due to the buggy environment. So the slate patio is in an area, they simply need that area. This slate, the grill as it appears now is on their deck, but once they turn that into a screened-in porch, they're simply trying to have a slate patio to have the grill on. So this, the grill, which is being displaced because of the requested screened-in porch. There will be no detriment to the neighborhood. It's not additional living space. It won't generate wastewater. This is really not a self-created hardship. I do want the revegetation to be reestablished, fixed to reestablish the buffer and restore the integrity of the scenic easement with woody species, and to help prevent, future clearing. Emily Mandelstam, the applicant, did appear before us, and again, she just noted that they're just looking to be able to experience more outside activity. In terms of the clearing that came up, which was a concern, no mowing is done. He's just simply, her husband is simply mowing the leaves. I do believe this is in keeping with the standards, and for the reasons I've stated, I approve this application in its entirety.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay, I agree with my fellow board member. The one thing on the plans, I have a copy here, and I know, and Rick Whalen made a comment about it, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Some discrepancy in the plans, because I have a copy that we received on June 15, 2022, that shows revised 6/15/2022. And I think it relates to the size of the patio. So I highlighted the screen porch as being 337 square feet and the patio 59 square feet. So it is slightly dated. There was just some discrepancy that Rick had mentioned that I don't recall now. I didn't write down. But I too am looking to approve this application. I think the slate patio, while it is a variance and there are other places of outdoor living on the house, I think in this, the placement of it being next to the proposed area for the screened porch, is probably a good location for it. Obviously, yes, they're not going to keep the grill out on a screen porch. So I too am looking to approve it. The revegetation and provided, yes, that they do the revegetation. I'm just not sure how we're going to know what revegetation they need to do other than the scenic easement itself.
Couldn't we make that a condition
Well,
that they
yeah.
have the planning
Well-
department?
Well,
work
I
with
think
the
it already
planning-
was in their previous decision
But they
where
didn't
they
do
were
it.
granted the one story, but they
Yeah.
didn't do it. So whatever was proposed back then,
We
I
can
I
condition
tried
it
to find
they-
that revegetation
Yeah.
plan and couldn't.
I think we can
That should
condition
be,
it, right, we can condition it to comply with the previous decision.
right, that's my
And-
point.
Yeah, the only thing
Condition
with
it to
Willis,
not
they
get a
couldn't find it.
CO.
We couldn't find it. Right, so I don't know. Planning-
Right.
I
Or,
mean, if they want to submit a new plan too, they certainly can do that and we can sign off on that and then do that. That's up
And-
to
right,
you.
or at best have the, work with the planning department.
Right,
But condition it on not getting a CO till they do that.
till the work is done, right.
Right.
Right. Okay. Works.
That sounds good.
Okay, good, Terry?
Yeah. I think it's covered most of that.
So I took a little different approach on this one, and I might wind up in the same place, but I just wanted to make a point. In the TAM, it was pointed out, first of all, we're asking for two significant variances, 41.6 and 61.3 feet for this work. And then there's a question, and I think it's a question we probably should ask ourselves on some of these other cases. I chose to focus in on this one. They hear, and I'm going to quote from the TAM, the applicants to speak to the need for the proposed covered porch and slate patio, as it already appears there's an abundance of outdoor space on this parcel. Parcels improved with the deck, and it goes on to describe what that was. And then we should weigh, all proposals for adding additional impermeable surfaces, particularly as close as they are to the wetlands. We generally find ourselves in a position where we're being asked, because of mitigation that's offered, to accept these extensions out closer to and in relative approximately close, juxtaposed to wetlands. This one bothered me. I thought it's exactly right. I mean, we're going to go a porch and we're going to do this patio, but this is a house that sits and it's already got a porch. I mean, it's already got deck outside, so it's got outside space. I was very bothered by the idea that the easement seemed to have been cleared. There was all this conversation that there was some raking of leaves. The photos, and I did not visit the site, which I'm sorry about, but the photos showed a very empty, understory completely gone, and a large portion of this that looked to me as if it had been groomed. We're not going to point fingers and make accusations, but the fact is the easement doesn't seem to have been respected. We have an easement that's been abused, and the reason that I would at all consider approving it would have been, after I thought this through, well, if that gets the easement revegetated, but on the other hand, they have a responsibility to not clear the easement, and they can be, the easement is part of the conditions of the easement being imposed is that it's left in its natural state. So I understand the reasons from my fellow board members, and I think this is a call that is not particularly aggressive. But I'm going to choose to deny this based on the fact that there are some places where I'm not sure that we should automatically be, not automatically, but be approving these just on their basic need, even if it's not terribly disruptive. It's disruptive enough that we're allowing it get within that distance of the wetland. So I'm going to deny the application.
Okay. Joan?
I was inclined to approve it based on what Denise and Terry were discussing and what I had mentioned, which is conditioning getting a CO on the condition that they revegetate the scenic easement. I mean, we don't have a lot of leverage, and the scenic easement is substantial. It's 24,000, it's almost 25,000 square feet, which is all wetlands. But it's not good wetlands if it's not properly vegetated. So I feel like in order to get that properly vegetated, I can give a little and let them have their screened-in deck. So I'm inclined to approve it, but conditioned on not getting a CO till they've revegetated in consultation with the planning department.
Mhm.
While you're thinking, I found what the change was on that update we got on June 15th, no, revised. It was the size of the patio. And the one from March, it was 122 square feet, and it was revised to 59 square feet for the patio.
I think, I just did yeah, I have 58.5. If you look at the drawings, it's 58.5.
Yeah.
Which in that case makes it more de minimis to me than twice the size, or more than twice the size of it. I was originally leaning towards approving it. You gave me thought to pause. I agree with your logic. However, I think on this case, I do think the screen porch is within the footprint. To me, the issue would be more the slate patio, and I think the smaller version rather than 122 square feet is a de minimis. So I will maintain that I would approve the application based on that.
One other point.
But it does bother me that I agree with you. There's no underscoring in that easement. I mean, the easement's not supposed to be touched. There's a lot going on in that easement, and that was pretty cleared out.
Yeah. And it seemed to me that, well, if the easement's been cleared out by the owner of the parcel and then agrees to revegetate it so they can get an approval, it's almost like we were being held hostage by the fact that the easement had been abused. And then the other thing is that we very often talk about maybe it's a two-step process sometimes for someone to put a deck in and then come back to us and say, now that I've already disturbed the area, can I enclose that spot? I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm saying when I look at these things, we ask ourselves that very often on these. And I admit that I was very tempted to say, well, as long as the easement gets redone, that's the most important thing.
That's
here.
not a mitigation, but that's a
It's not a
requirement.
mitigation.
That's a requirement, exactly.
That's a requirement, is right. So I'm going to stick with my denial of it, but I understand where everybody else is coming from.
Thank you.
Okay.
Council, are we good?
We're good.
All right, therefore, we have one more item, and that's the draft minutes of April 4th,
Okay.
2023.
So I would like to make a motion. I will make a motion. I am making a motion to approve the draft minutes of April 4th, 2023 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you. Therefore, I turn it over to the vice chair to close the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'm getting help from both sides here. I would like to make a motion to close the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals work session for April 11th, 2023 at, now I've forgotten, 8:38.
7:30.
No, 7:38 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you.
Denise got